Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's a fail-safe recipe that comes together in minutes. Here to share a sweet recipe, we welcome back Culinary Director at Christopher Kimball's Milk Street, Wes Martin. Hi, Wes.
Hi there, Helen. How are you?
Good. So what's interesting about this in so many ways is that it's a blender cake recipe.
That's right. We actually have a series of blender cakes, and this was developed here in our kitchen. Our crack baker Rose came up with this recipe, and it's so much easier than baking a cake from scratch. You know, it's people reach for the box at the grocery store. This is very much like a box cake without all the junk in it.
Right.
And it's easy, like comes together in like 2 minutes. So,
okay, let's do it. Tell me about the flavors, first of all.
well, we've got, this is a very basic flavored cake with just vanilla, egg yolks, a little melted butter, but there's buttermilk in the batter, which gives it a little bit more moistness,
Okay.
and also a touch of oil. If you have carrot cakes or a lot of loaf cakes have oil in them, that keeps them moist, and they'll last a couple days longer, but there's just a couple tablespoons of oil. But first part are the dry ingredients. We start with cake flour also, which gives it a nice tender crumb, but has enough protein. And it's low protein, but it'll hold together, but it's a lot softer and nicer. So that's baking powder, baking soda, and a little bit of salt in the dry ingredients, and just mix that up and set aside. Now, this is the point at which you would get your mixer out, you'd start creaming the butter, creaming the sugar,
Right.
adding the eggs one at a time, which is going to take you 10, 15 minutes to make. This is a snap. So we've got the rest of the ingredients right in the blender.
Okay.
And this is going to start with buttermilk. Again, the buttermilk adds a nice tart flavor. There's a cup of sugar in this. And then eggs, it's 2 whole eggs and 2 yolks. And that'll give it that nice yellow color. Some melted butter. This is about 10 tablespoons of melted butter. And much easier to deal with than worrying about creaming that butter. And be sure your ingredients are at room temperature. This also helps kind of the emulsification. And touch of vanilla, and then there's our oil. Use a vegetable oil. Don't use olive oil in this. You'd be able to taste it in the cake.
Oh, right.
This is just, we use sunflower oil here at Milk Street. That goes in, and then your sugar. And I'm going to turn on this jet engine here quickly. 8 to 10 seconds is all you need.
So tell me about Milk Street, because the TV show, because this recipe will be featured in season 8 of Milk Street TV, right?
Right. We're in the process of filming season 8 right now, which will start coming out next fall, all through next spring. And this is one of the recipes. We have done it on social media. It's been a big hit, and everyone here loves it. Tammy can attest to that.
Yeah.
She's had this cake as well. So now we have the liquid ingredients. They go right into the dry, whisk it up, and into the pan. It's really like super, super easy. Even kids could make this.
Oh, great. That means
Just
I can do it.
Are you a baker?
I'm not very good at baking, but every once in a while I do things when they're simple like this. So I'm about to do this, yeah. And Tammy was up visiting you, and that's when she had the cake.
Right. She got to taste this already, and I can't believe she didn't make you one. But
I can't believe either. That's what I said to her. Can't believe it.
So I've got 9-inch cake pans, and this batter really actually is great. You can make cupcakes with this. This makes 2 9-inch. You could also make 8-inch. That'll give you a taller cake. But the pans are greased with cooking spray and then floured, and we put a little parchment on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
And you just divide the batter in between. This goes into a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. And until when you press the top of the cake, that's in the oven and it springs back where you pressed, you're good. You don't necessarily need to get the toothpick out and start poking holes all over it. You can usually tell by the texture of it if you just press it with your finger, and also the edges are going to be set and are going to start pulling away from the side of the pan.
Oh, sure.
Then you know that your cake is done.
Right.
So when you put the batter in the pan, I just give it a couple taps. Any big air bubbles that happen to be in there will pop, and into the oven they go. So when they're baked, it's beautiful, simple, beautiful, nice golden brown cake. And then the other really beautiful thing about this is the frosting that we use here, and we call it a 1, 2, 3 frosting. And that is, you can't forget this. So it is 1 cup of heavy cream, 2 sticks of butter, and 3 cups of powdered sugar.
Oh.
Now, if you get a birthday cake from a supermarket, you have that really sweet, like people really love it. A lot of people scrape it off, but it's so sweet and sometimes really grainy. This is an American buttercream, but has the addition of cream in it, and it's fluffy and light and beautiful. And that you do. Got to get your mixer out or your hand mixer. We put the butter into the bowl and whip it up a couple minutes so it's really, really light and fluffy. You can see when the butter is nice and soft, it will get lighter in color, and then you're ready to keep adding the other ingredients.
So is it
You want
just butter
kind
that you've put in there at room temperature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get the butter out and let it sit to room temperature, and then start whipping it up. And then we have powdered sugar with the mixer on low. So turn your
Oh yeah.
kitchen into an I Love Lucy set here. and then really slowly start adding that powdered sugar to that, and you
Right.
want to mix it well in between. And then when we get to the cream part, here's the tricky thing. This really makes a beautiful fluffy icing, but you're going to see, you start adding the cream a couple tablespoons at a time. Don't freak out. You're going to see that it could possibly start to separate a little bit, but the trick about buttercream, even if you're making a fancy buttercream, a cooked sugar meringue buttercream, if it breaks apart and you see it kind of separating, keep whipping. Just keep whipping, as they say. And it will come back together. There's enough of the fat emulsion in here that's going to bring it back together. But this frosting is so delicious, and it's not as sweet. It's powdered sugar, but it's just so fluffy and nice. And when you get it all mixed together, you can see it's
Look at that.
just
Oh
like
wow.
fluffy and beautiful.
Do you have one tip for applying the frosting on top of the cake? I mean, in the past when I've done it, sometimes I pull apart the top of the cake. I don't know if you understand.
Well, yes. So what you want to do when you're filling, especially in the middle, the trick is to not let your spatula touch the cake.
Oh,
Always make sure that spatula is touching the frosting only.
okay.
So when you're pushing it around on there, if you go too far and you scrape the edge of the cake,
Right.
suddenly then you got crumbs,
Yes.
and you get crumbs in there, and that's just not acceptable.
Okay. So
It happens.
don't
It
let your
happens.
spatula touch the cake. Got it.
Yeah,
Got
just
it.
just
Oh.
keep pushing the icing around,
Yeah.
and then you're good.
All right,
And
and
the other thing,
quickly
too-
want to mention too that Milk Street Bakes comes out in October, so we're going to let everyone know that. And check out
Yes.
season 8 of Milk Street TV. Wes Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.